The money wasn't a problem. You know, I earn money now, you know, but I'll never get back time. I never get back time. I never get back them moments I missed.
Our guest today is footballing legend Paul Merson. Having signed for Arsenal at 16, Paul went on to play 11 seasons with the Gunners, winning multiple titles, including 2 Football League championships, the FA Cup and the UEFA Cup. My
self-worth goes, my self-esteem had gone, my anxiety comes back, and I think, what's the best way of getting out of this? I know. I have a drink, I have a bet, or I have a drug. And that's all my life ever was.
His wider club career took him to Middlesbrough, Aston Villa, Portsmouth and Walsall, and was capped 21 times for England. He's now a hugely knowledgeable and respected commentator and has become known for his honesty and resilience when facing his personal challenges. Paul, privileged to have you with us on Heroes Have Heroes.
Thank you, Stacey.
I think it's only right to start with happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
Do you celebrate them now? How do you feel about birthdays?
Another number, if I'm being honest. I'm more to my sobriety date, if I'm being honest, which is January the 6th, 2019. So, yeah, that's more important to me now.
Incredible. So I want to take you back to growing up. You had a very full flat, didn't you? Tell us about that.
So our front door was at the bottom of the steps. And I remember, like, me and my brothers, like I'd be at the top or at the bottom, one of us would be in goal, and we'd kick the ball down the stairs and the door would be the goal. You know, on Saturdays I'd go to the park at King Edward's Park with my mates, and we'd leave Saturday morning and come back just before it was dark, and there was never a problem, never a problem. You know, I was a very shy kid when I was growing up, very insecure, always wanted to be with my dad, always wanted to be with my dad. You know, I wet the bed till I was 10, 11. Yeah, that's the kind of kid I was, a very, insecure. I was good at football, but I still was nervous. So, you know, I'd always have to come off. I couldn't breathe. I'd literally hyperventilate and I couldn't breathe. And, being 10, 11, 12 years of age and doing that, it was a real worry. And my mum took me to the doctors, talked to the doctor, and the doctor just said like that, stop playing football. Stop playing football. And, you know, looking back now, they didn't know no different. Do you know what I mean? It's much different now. Life's changed now. You know, no one talked about feelings in them days, did they? You know, no, I didn't even know what a feeling was. So, but yeah, I just come to cope with it, you know, but that was still going on at 16 and 17. You know, real bad panic attacks. Anxiety is a massive, massive part of this life and world we live in today. The anxiety, and I don't think people understand enough how much problems it causes and what it stops people doing. And I think that's the most important thing. It stops people doing stuff. It stops them in their tracks. And I think, you know, we need to understand that and sort of talk about it more often. I haven't been on an underground train since I was 19 years of age. I haven't been on underground.
Why is that? Because of...
Just can't.
Anxiety?
Yeah, I just can't. I haven't tried, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I can only go on a plane now, really. I used to go on planes petrified. I'd be on holiday and I'd have sleepless nights for a whole week worrying about coming home. That's how bad it was. The message I would give to people with anxiety is you're not alone. You're not alone. There is help out there, and seek help, please. And your life will become so much better. I was terrible at school. I was dyslexic, terribly dyslexic. And being my age, dyslexic wasn't great. I'm not going to lie. My mum would always take me to a dyslexic teacher on a Wednesday. I had to come out of school to go. I was always in special classes. It was sort of one of them sort of, not get on with it, don't talk to us, but it was like, we'll help you, but what was there? You know, we're talking like 45, 46 years ago, do you know what I mean? It isn't like it is now. It's just amazing how things have come on since then.
Often football and music and sport and music goes together. Can you tell us about your big influence at that time?
I would say Madness. I think they just stuck with me. Do you know what I mean? I still listen to their music today, which is unusual, really, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, I'd say Madness. They were a massive group at the time.
Baggy trousers, dirty shirt, pulling hair and eating dirt. Teacher comes to bake it up. Back of the head with a plastic cup. I've chose Madness as one of my heroes. I think it was Suggsy was a big Chelsea fan. I was a big Chelsea fan when I was growing up as a kid. I just loved their music. I just loved dyslexic, so I couldn't read very well. But the words were so easy to understand. And when I'm listening to a song and I know all the words and I can sing to it, it takes me out the way I feel. And, you know, I didn't have to worry then. My worries would go away for that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, which, you know, the way my head worked was a lot of time, if I'm being honest. That 3 or 4 minutes was bliss. It was just one of them eras. I just liked the way, you know, I used to dress like that and go to school with my state press on and my Fred Perry T-shirt. Music plays a big part in my life. You know, there's a couple of songs that, you know, I've saved my life over the years in REM and Wilson Phillips's Hold On. You know, Everybody Hurts. Just playing that music. You know, everybody gets bad days. You know, I get bad days still. I'm not going to lie. Of course I do. But they get well outweighed by the good days. But them days you just got to hold on, you know, and because I always got nervous, very nervous kid. You know, I always got palpitations. You know,
you used
now
to use a brown paper bag, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was using a brown paper bag on the way to games at Arsenal.
What was it about football that still made you want to play despite those nerves?
Football was my only release. I was good at football. Just loved football. My dad played football, so I always wanted to go and watch him. Not like the standard I played at, but, you know, I always wanted to go and watch him football. He'd always take me down the park. He just played football. He was just there to play football with me. I grew up a massive Chelsea fan when I was a kid. That was my team. I went and watched my first game at 6, so, you know, I've been a Chelsea fan for 50 years. You know, people will go, oh my God, you play for Arsenal. Arsenal's in my heart. Chelsea's in my blood. You know, and I remember one day they went to Marbella, Chelsea, and I was a young kid, and my cousin used to work in a bar in Marbella, and he got his training top. My God, I slept with that for, I dread to think how long. Just a Chelsea training top. It had little holes in it, like, because of the heat where they were training. It's like, yeah. A hero, Ray Wilkins. I wanted to be Ray Wilkins. He captain at Chelsea at 17 years of age, just a phenomenal footballer. You know, I love watching him. He gave me hope, you know, for supporting my childhood club and being in the first team at 17 and being captain. It was like I might have a chance of making it as a footballer.
Did you get to meet him?
Yeah, they say don't meet your
heroes.
Yeah, it's a question of sport.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, people say don't meet your heroes.
What was it like for you, though?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, amazing. You know, you got to remember now. I'm, you know, playing at the top level. You know, getting accolades. But like a little kid, he was my hero. Like I just wanted to be Ray Wilkins. I just wanted to be Ray Wilkins. When people said he was the one, it was just the way he talked, the way he acted, everything about him. I just wanted to be. The most high-performing team I played in, I'd have to say, Arsenal team of 1991. I think that goes under the radar. At Arsenal, we talk about double winning teams and the 89 team and the Invincibles, but I think that 91 team was very underrated, losing one football match and letting in 18 goals in a season. But I love being in a team. I loved, you know, helping other people and them helping me at the same time. And I just always loved being in a team because I wouldn't have been able to do it on my own. I wouldn't have been able to play snooker, golf or tennis because I just found that would have been too lonely for Paul.
I know you've talked about your highlights of your career, and you had many at club level, but playing at the World Cup was the one that stood out for you.
I don't want to sound blasé here and thing, but I never like, my life was such in a turmoil. I never really got overexcited. Do you know what I mean? My life was, honestly, you couldn't believe my head was like a washing machine. I wasn't well. You know, I wasn't well, and I never got to appreciate things. That's the thing. But when I look back on my career now, that's the pinnacle. To play in the World Cup when I was playing in the Championship, you know, that will never be done again.
Could you be in the moment when you were playing football, sort of in the game?
No. Oh,
Not at all.
yeah. When I was in the game, as soon as I got onto, when I crossed that white line and walked on the pitch, my life was different for 90 minutes. Just for 90 minutes, like all my worries went away. It was like no one can touch me. I'm just going to enjoy myself for an hour and a half. It didn't matter how much money I owed, or how much I've lost, or how much where I'm going to go tomorrow, what I've done last week. That, honestly, that bliss of that hour and a half was the serenity at its highest. It was like, I'm just going to go out and enjoy myself. And people go, oh, you used to try this and try that. Yeah, because why not? I thought, just go out and enjoy yourself, because there's no better feeling. And I think that's the feeling that probably got me in trouble, if I'm being honest, because it was the adrenaline is, I tried every buzz in the world. There's no buzz like
Can't replicate
you
it.
can't, and that was my problem. When I come off the pitch, players would go home, they'd go to their wife and kids, and they go out and have a meal. I had to still be up there. I couldn't live there. I had to be up here, scoring and then having the biggest high in the world, and then being down here where I owe money. I've lost all my money. I've been out all night. I haven't come home. My self-esteem, my self-worth is gone. Everybody wanted to, and I don't mean this flash, please don't think I am. Everybody wanted to be Paul Merson, and Paul Merson didn't want to be him. That was the worst feeling in the world. I hated being me. Every person I ever met, I always wanted to be that person. I'd come away and go, I wish I was like him. I wish I was like him. I hated being in my own skin. I used to scratch myself to death. Like, I used to hate it. Put this in perspective. I'm playing for Arsenal. They were one of the biggest clubs in England then. They are now, but we were winning stuff. I was playing for England. I was a young lad. I had everything at my feet. As I said, a lot of people wanted to be Paul Merson, a lot of people. And I want to kill myself. I drive to work and think, just pull in front of this lorry and end it all. It's just, it just kills you. It just kills you. I was lucky. Some people just don't get away with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is another thing with addiction. You have no feelings. You become so selfish, so self-centered. I'd go to the pub. I'd leave at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, go to the pub, and I'd say to my wife, I'll be home at 6. I put my hand on my heart, I'd be home at 6. As soon as I had a drink, I couldn't give a shit. Couldn't. And that, that's the addiction taking over. And that's the thing. I know I'm a good person now, but there's people out there now that are living with with addiction that don't know they're addicted, and they're going through so much pain. And and that's the one thing I always say to people, because people come up to me and go, my husband or my wife or my partner or my kids or someone, and I always say, you could just be there for them. You can't stop them. You can't. You've got to be you. You've got to stop. I've been in treatment twice. I never got it because I didn't go in for me. And I always say, hate the addiction, don't hate the person. One of the biggest stars in the world, in my opinion, Elton John, is an addict. Do you know what I mean? It takes anybody. It would be a dustman, it would be a postman, it would be a builder, be a professional footballer. It takes anybody.
And Maradona then, obviously a global superstar.
The greatest football player I've ever seen. I haven't seen anybody better yet. People tell me Messi and Ronaldo. I still think Maradona's the greatest football ever to play football. The way Maradona played the game, kicked from pillar to post, won the World Cup nearly single-handedly. I just couldn't think a professional footballer could be that good. And, when I look back now, and to live with the addictions he lived with as well, and to be that good was just mind-blowing. And the pressure's on you, like, immensely. And, when you're just part of a team, but he was the team. And he had to make everything happen, and then you had the people around him. So, yeah, I've just always loved watching Maradona play, loved watching his videos, I watch his clips, and, yeah, it's just a shame what happened in the end. For me, that sticks out more than anything is really weird is the World Cup, when he scores the goal against England in Mexico. I mean, to do that on the top stage, because I always think people are judged by the World Cup. I think you turn it on at the World Cup, you know, for me, that's the ultimate. And to do what he done against England and score that goal when he beats 5 players from the halfway line, that England team was a good team. These against the top players like Peter Reid and Terry Butcher and Fed, they were top players. They're playing for their country. You know, our nation's a footballing nation, so it takes its pride. And for him to go past all them players and not touch the ball with his right foot once, and to go to Napoli, like I put things in perspective, like to go to Napoli and win the league when Napoli were just a run-of-the-mill team. People used to go to the ground and get in there. The grounds used to be packed 35 minutes before kickoff just to watch Maradona warm up. Yeah. And if you go on YouTube and watch his warm up, he's kicking the ball 60 yards up, and you know it's impossible to do something like that.
And he made it look so easy. As
yeah,
well.
and and he wasn't big. He was, he was 5 foot something. So and he had and even more so that I respect him because he had addictions as well. And to do what he done and have them addictions is mind blowing. And it caught up with him in the end, and that's what it does. Addiction, it catches up with you in the end. I think football could do better by understanding that it's an illness, and they're not a bad person who's trying to get good. They're an ill person who needs to get well, and banning people is not the way to do it. For them players in League 1 or 2. Where do they get the help? And as I say, if they took a 10-month ban, the club will have to let them go. There's just no way they would be able to afford to pay them, and they wouldn't because they're not a superstar. So that's where the games and the governing body have to change and need to accept this is an illness, get that person well and give them another chance. When you're in gambling addiction, you don't care for anybody, but when it finishes and you've lost all the money, you become relieved. It's like, it's all over. I mean, and that might sound as madness as anything, that when the money's all gone, you have that relief. Now, a compulsive gambler will understand that. Someone who gambles to access, they will know that. And anybody watching this who does that will know that they're a compulsive gambler. But I saved up a heart. When I was playing football, I didn't have to save for anything. I was earning unbelievable money. If we wanted to go on holiday, we went on holiday. I never really got that buzz of a holiday because I just went. Then I had to earn that money, and them holidays become really more enjoyable now, if that makes sense, because I have to save and I have to work and I have to get that money. But when I saved that money up to get a house, and it was a lot of money, and then watch the kids for a week like jumping around, and my wife's going, "Oh, we'll be out of here soon, we'll be out of this house," and knowing we weren't, and for me, thinking I've got to tell my wife, and when I tell my wife, she's going to leave me, because that's what addiction does. It tells you lies. She wasn't happy, don't get me wrong. She wasn't happy at all. But that was hard. The money wasn't a problem. I earn money now, and, I earn money, but I'll never get back time. I never get back time. I never get back them moments I missed my kids, play, and not being here or there.
Now, the quote that you've chosen is the Serenity Prayer. Can you tell us why you've chosen that?
I just think it's been a big part of my life since I got into sobriety and got well and found out that, I am an ill person who needs to get well, not a bad person who needs to get good. And I think there's so much in there. My life's always been living in the past and in the future. I never, ever lived in the day. I always used to think the wealthiest people in the world are the people who had the big houses and the big cars and the Rolex watch. I thought they were the wealthy people. But, I wish I was like that. But the wealthy people are the people that can live in the day. It took me a long time to understand that, but that's what it is now. I live in the moment. And that's why I have to say, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can. The courage to change the things I can is to stay present, stay sober, stay drug-free and bet-free today, and the wisdom to know the difference, that I am an addict and I don't want to go back to where I was. My wife's got a picture on her phone which still that I see, and it's my boy. He's sitting at school and he's sitting on the wooden benches, and it's a play, and he's literally sitting down
And it's a picture of him looking down the side, and he's looking for his dad. His dad's in the pub. And it affects kids. It affects kids. There's no doubt about that. You know, and that's what addiction does.
And you have open and honest conversations with your children about it, don't you?
Just to be honest and open, and you know, and there are hurdles out there. There are. My boy's 10 now. He's at Chelsea Academy. He's doing what he loves football like I did. But I can see him in me, and it scares me.
How important was that, and has that continued loyalty from your wife?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, if it wasn't for her, I'd dread to think where I'd be, because you need that stability. It's such important, you know. She stuck by me because that was at my worst. When you get to 50 and you're still doing it, and you're still drinking every day, and you're gambling all your money away, you know, it was easy for her to say, you know what, I've had enough. I've had enough. And her mum helped. I'm not going to lie. Her mum's dad, and I hope she don't mind me saying this, her mum's dad was a compulsive gambler. And she was telling her, like, he doesn't hate you. You know, he's not doing it out of spite. He's not, and that helps as well. I have to thank her mum as well for that. But yeah, I'd have to say my wife, you know, is so important. I was very fortunate in that. So lucky. She's been I have to say, she was the only person who's understood me for who I am and what I've been, and sticking by me and not throwing me out and leave me. And she could have done that a million times, if I'm being honest. I let her down enough times for a lifetime. And I just think you have to be a hero to have stuck with me through my addictions. That you got to remember they're worse when I was with my wife. You know, coming towards the end where I stopped. Just before I stopped, they were at my worst, my gambling and my drinking. And first thing that comes to my mind when I think of my wife is strength. She probably doesn't really know that she has that strength, but I can't express what she went through. You know, losing our money, drinking and gambling constantly. I dread to think what she went through, and I don't know if I could have done that if it was the other way around. I don't know if I would have been able to. But she done it, and she done it for us and the kids. And yeah, I just couldn't talk highly enough of her, if I'm being honest. You know what? When I first got into punditry, I wasn't well. You know, I wasn't well. And I use that word. I wasn't well. I ain't really care for anybody, so I was pretty ruthless. You know, people go, "Oh, he's honest," but I was sometimes too honest, too much. It was only when I started to get well that, like, I look back and I think that was harsh. That was harsh. You know, I've rung players up. I've rung a couple of players up. You know, they didn't care. They didn't care. They don't care what Paul Merson says. I don't think they do. But Paul Merson cares. And I thought I just got to make that phone call to say I apologise. Think I went too far, you know, and I just want to apologise. And, you know, because now I look as a well person, how would I feel if that was me? You know, now when I step back, I look and I think, you can be honest, but you don't have to go too far. You know, in my life today, I have to make sure I keep my street clean, my side of the street clean, you know, and I have to do that. You know, I always worried about what people thought about me. I always wanted everybody to love me. I know that ain't the case now. You know, I know half the people in the world will love you and half the people in the world will hate you. And, you know, they don't, you know, I have a tattoo on my arm. You know, they hurt tattoos, so I haven't got a lot of tattoos. But I had a saying, it's my favourite saying in the world, don't judge me until you've walked a mile in my shoes. Yeah, I would say I'm quite a spiritual person now. I try and, you know, I think, you know, I rely on a group of people, you know, to help me to get through the day. I can't do this on my own. It's impossible to do it on my own.
You know, I've tried that many and many a time and failed miserably. Now I accept myself. I accept myself today. I accept myself the way I am. I think that's probably the most important thing. I accept that I'm an addict, you know, today, and that, you know, I can't do what people do normally. I can't gamble and drink normally like some people can. I live my life a day at a time. You know, if someone said to me today, you can never, ever bet, drink or take another drug in your life, I couldn't do that. I'd find that impossible. But I get up every morning and say, I will not have a drink, a bet or a drug today. And that is so doable. And at the start of that, when I started, that was 10 minutes. I'd have to say that for 10 minutes. For the next 10 minutes, I won't have a drink or a bet or a drug. I won't, and then another 10 minutes and another 10 minutes. And thank God today that's got into every day. That's what I say.
How are you at receiving compliments and praise?
I mean, that makes my day. My God, if someone comes up to me and says, you know, people come up and go, you know, I've got sober, or I've stopped betting, or I've stopped taking drugs because I read a book, or I done this, or I see you on a program. That makes my day. That I just put the seed, or just one of the people, you know, that they hear. I hoped it just helped one person, because that one person is not just one person; it's their whole family. Their whole family. You know, I've left hand grenades behind me. Do you know what I mean? Like where, you know, even my wife today will still be on eggshells every now and then. You know, and I have to assure her. And sometimes that, you know, some days if I'm not right, that can be frustrating. Oh, come on, you know, I'm 6 years now. I'm not going to go out and have a drink. I'm not going to have a bet. But I've got to understand where she was and the amount of times I lied to her and let her down. So, you know, that's the thing. It's the people around you. And you help that one person, you just help all their family around them, because, you know, living with addiction, you know, living with an addict, you know, it's hard as well. I have to say my dad. If it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't have been a professional footballer. My dad took me everywhere when I was a kid, took me everywhere. We did have a lot. My dad was a coalman, and he made sure that he took me everywhere to play football. And I put him and my mum through so much in my early addictions, where they'd worry shitless about me, even to get your parents to worry about you at 25 and 26, like that I was a little kid, is just so sad, really. Being a father and recognising what my dad done at the moment is it's sunk in now, if I'm being honest. Like now I'm sober and clean and sober and bet frees, because I didn't do that when I was younger. You know, I you know, a lot of time I wasn't there. I was drinking, I was gambling, taking drugs, and you know, it's only now where I've been able to take my little boy to the academy where he's at Chelsea and be there for him. You know, I had three older boys, but in my first marriage, personally, I think that the youngest out of them three could have made it, should have made it. And it's probably my fault, because I wasn't there. And I wasn't there to take him everywhere all the time and play football. And maybe that's why I won't let Freddie down. And I'll take him wherever he needs to go to play football. But you only learn by your mistakes. What do I hope for my own children? I hope be happy, enjoy life a day at a time, and be good. Be polite, because that costs nothing. And that's all I ask. I've written this letter to you, Dad. I just want to say thank you, Dad, for taking me to play football, because I know it was hard because, as I say, we didn't have a lot. You know, you always got around work with it, and, you know, for my mum as well for being there. But, yeah, I have to say thank you to my dad. And I don't say that to my dad. I don't. We're not like a talking family, you know, like that in that way. You know, like now we sort of, me and my wife and kids sit around the table and the kids will say, you know, how do you feel and things like that. But, you know, in the 70s, that wasn't the case. So it's nice to be able to look down the camera and say, thank you, Dad. I'm sure he knows because I've put it in my books. But, yeah, I just want to say thank you. You're a hero.